Germany's high-speed trains come in all sorts of varieties, but the ICET stands out in particular, not just because it shares its name with a rapper. This is the only high-speed train in Germany capable of tilting, enhancing the passenger experience and reaching faster speeds on the sharpest of corners. And what's more, it appears as though these trains are getting a brand new look too, which we'll be checking out today on a journey from Germany's capital Berlin down to the Austrian capital Vienna. Now join me as the journey continues. Welcome to Berlin Hauptbahnhof, the main station serving the German capital. Despite this, the station has only been fully operational since May 2006, owing to the city's troubled past and before the unification of Berlin, taking around 10 years for construction to be complete and consolidating the traffic from the eastern and western terminals of Berlin Ostbahnhof and Berlin Zoologischer Garten respectively. The eventual opening of Berlin Hauptbahnhof finally provided the city with crucial through services across Germany and beyond, all from one conveniently located central station, acting as a hub not only for long-distance ICE trains, but also for regional traffic and the Berlin S-Bahn. There's also some sort of event or display going on whenever I've had to make a journey from here, and this visit's no exception. The massive Christmas tree is prominently on display here, as is a Buddy Bear statue and a tower of Ritter Sport chocolate bars, though I can't be the only one at first who thought they were books. Berlin Hauptbahnhof operates over several levels. The main and upper level platforms 11 to 16 typically handle east-west connections, as well as local S-Bahn traffic, whilst the lower level, or TIEF platforms 1 to 8, mainly accommodate for north-south traffic, with various shopping outlets in between. Now you would normally think this is confusing. After all, Bologna Centrale in Italy is an absolute mess, right? Well, Berlin Hauptbahnhof is one of the few aspects of German railways able to showcase the country's efficiency, capable of accommodating the 350,000 passengers daily while somehow avoiding to get them incredibly lost. Our train to Vienna this morning will be departing from platform 2, which is located on the lower level, so just through this escalator here. There is also step-free access throughout for ease of transit between levels. Seen on the adjacent platform 1 is an ICE 1 set, Germany's original high-speed train dating back to the early 90s. Deutsche Bahn, the state operator in Germany, is the main operator at Berlin Hauptbahnhof for both long-distance and regional trains, and is our operator to Austria today. We'll be catching the 10:04 ICE 93 to Wien Hauptbahnhof, which runs together with the ICE 1093 service that leaves us at Nuremberg later in the trip. Our train today is the ICET, with one set seen just over there arriving, which is heading north to Hamburg, whilst our 12-car set is arriving in now, having travelled over 2 hours from Hamburg already today. A 7-car ICET Class 411 leads, whilst a Class 415 5-car ICET set trails on the rear. All 70 ICET EMU sets were built by a consortium of Bombardier, Siemens and Alstom in several series between 1999 and 2005, and were developed alongside the ICE3, hence why the design looks a bit familiar, albeit the ICETs having a less streamlined nose. The ICETs were designed more for upgraded conventional lines rather than high-speed lines which the ICE3s use, meaning they have a lower top speed of 230 km per hour and feature active tilting technology to achieve higher speeds along the greater amount of bends these routes have. The trains are principally focused on the routes between Germany and Austria, with our set being authorised for use in both countries, though some of the sets were previously licensed to operate in Switzerland as well. The total route from Hamburg to Vienna takes our train a total of over 10 hours to complete end to end, and this is one of the 2 daily returns to run via Berlin. If you want to see the night train equivalent, you can check out my video on the inaugural ride of the new night jet between the two cities. That being said, the lack of trains per day and stops at many of Germany and Austria's busy cities mean these services are very popular, as can be seen whilst we're boarding. For this ride, I'm in second class, which is Deutsche Bahn's standard class equivalent, featuring a 2x2 layout with both airline and table seats. One thing that surprised me when I boarded was that this set is one of the recently refreshed sets featuring brand new grey seat fabric which really looks the part. I've been told by one of my social media followers that this was an experimental interior for the new ICE interior design, but when looking online there wasn't much further information. If you know more, please comment below. Today's route out of Berlin will see us head progressively south, calling at most stops to Nuremberg, where the 5-car Class 4 and 5 set detaches. After Nuremberg, we head towards Passau and then cross the German-Austrian border thereafter, where it's then over 2 hours to our final destination of Vienna, where we're scheduled to arrive at around 5:45 PM, taking almost 8 hours to cover the 961km distance, provided we're on time of course. Our departure from Berlin Hbf is on time at 10:04 Central European Time. To leave the lower level platforms, we have to traverse the tunnel which runs directly under the Spree River as well as the Landwehr Canal, just before we emerge towards the south of Berlin. Around 7 minutes later, we call at Berlin Südkreuz, or Berlin South Cross, the last stop this service makes in the city bounds before we leave them. Formerly named Papestraße, the station was extensively rebuilt and reopened in conjunction with Berlin Hauptbahnhof in 2006 as part of Deutsche Bahn's new concept for Berlin's long-distance services, the new name being deemed more intuitive. We now leave the Berlin suburbs and begin to enter the main line into the German state of Saxony-Anhalt, where things start to get a bit snowy. On that note, let's take a look inside second class on the ICET. For a second class offering, the seats are very comfortable with great padding and ergonomics. The headrest at the top is also very plush and will make the next 7.5 hours very relaxing. Each seat pair has foldable armrests in the middle and aisle sides, and even features a small recline at the base of the seat by pulling the small lever underneath. This is useful for adjusting both the legroom and seat pitch, which for second class are both excellent, though the footrest isn't ideal. A small bin is just between the seats in front, whilst underneath where I'm sitting is a standard 220V power socket shared between both passengers. A storage net can also be found on the seat in front, located just below the tray table, which is large enough for holding large electronic devices such as a laptop. Just above the tray table is a series of QR codes for accessing the Deutsche Bahn online portal, which works best with the onboard Wi-Fi, which I found to be pretty fast. Electronic seat reservation displays can be found just below the overhead luggage racks, with seat numbers also being present in braille for those who are visually impaired. Retractable coat hooks are just by the windows, which have draw-down window blinds that don't completely block out the view, but just reduce the sunlight to an appropriate level. Considering this interior largely dates back to when the units were first introduced, this is pretty good going and the refresh definitely brings new life into them. One thing I loved about this journey in particular was how much snow was present as we left Berlin and progressed into the state of Saxony-Anhalt, which made for a nice backdrop as we crossed over the Elbe River, with the Elbe Bridge of the Bordrestaurant 2 seen just to the right for carrying road traffic. As I mentioned earlier, the ICETs were designed for upgraded conventional lines where there are more curves, which thanks to their tilting function allows them to be traversed faster. The Berlin to Halle railway has plenty of them, and our ICET can be seen employing its tilting mechanism now as it reaches the 200km/h top line speed. Speaking of which, did you know there used to be a diesel variant of the ICET? This was the Class 605, or ICETD, which principally operated international routes between Germany and Denmark, as well as unelectrified routes in the former. Maintenance costs and reliability issues, however, led to the ICETD's retirement in 2017, with one still operational as the Advanced Train Lab for Deutsche Bahn. The tilting mechanism on the operational sets is also a huge issue. High maintenance costs and poor reliability means that ICETs will start to be phased out in 2027, with all withdrawn in the 2030s, being replaced by a combination of the new ICEL Talgo sets domestically and the ICE4s on routes into Austria, the latter being authorised to run in the country. Anyway, our first stop after Berlin is Halle Saal Hauptbahnhof, one of the most important transport hubs in the German state of Saxony-Anhalt and an island station, which has its main station building located just between tracks 7 and 6, the latter of which we pull into, though my right hand side view means we won't get to see the station building sadly.
Wünschen Ihnen noch einen schönen verregneten Tag und sagen Tschüss und auf Wiedersehen.
After leaving Halle, we enter the first high-speed line of the trip, which runs as far as Erfurt. The line speed here is 300 km per hour as reached by the much faster ICE 3 trains, though our ICE T only reaches 230 km per hour, the maximum speed these trains were designed for. Our next stop is Erfurt, the capital and largest city of the German state of Thuringia. The last time I was here, it was to check out the brand new RE29 service running on the high-speed line to Nuremberg, which is linked above now if you're interested. Speaking of which, we immediately pick up said high-speed line after leaving Erfurt, which opened in December 2017, and the fastest ICE 3 trains are able to complete the trip to Nuremberg in as little as 1 hour and 20 minutes from Erfurt. Our journey, however, will be slightly slower than this, given the intermediate stop at Bamberg and the 230 km per hour top speed of the ICE T. Since this video was recorded, the stop at Bamberg at the end of the high speed line for ICE 93 has been replaced with a stop at Coburg, meaning if you decide to do this journey anytime soon, this will involve exiting the high speed line partway through to make the stop before rejoining it again afterwards. For now though, let's enjoy the snowy landscape which won't be with us much longer. This is Nuremberg, the largest city in Franconia and the second largest city in the state of Bavaria after Munich. Many people will know this city being the site of the Nuremberg trials after World War II and being home to Nuremberg Castle dating as far back as the Middle Ages, though for enthusiasts, one notable attraction will be the Deutsche Bahn Museum located a short walk from the station, which I really need to visit next time I come here. Nuremberg is also where the rear Class 415 set terminates as ICE 1093 reaches the end of the line. When the set uncoupled, however, it resulted in a power failure on the Class 411 set continuing to Vienna and led to a delay of around half an hour, having run perfectly on time until this point. Classic Deutsche Bahn for you, hey? We eventually leave Nuremberg once the train is finally fixed and prepare to head towards the lower speed conventional lines for the rest of our time in Germany. But first, I think it's time for lunch, don't you? The ICE Ts may currently be the lowest tier of ICE trains within Deutsche Bahn's roster speed and capacity wise, but fortunately the 7-car sets still have the famous Bordrestaurant, which makes any journey with Deutsche Bahn, good or bad, somewhat more bearable. The menu would have changed since I recorded this video, though many of the items are still the same, including the lemonade I ordered as a drink and the vegan currywurst and chips I got as my food, which didn't disappoint. As always, this has been linked in the description below. Let's now have a look at the rest of the train. The section we're in now is the accessible area, which features a wheelchair accessible toilet as well as a wheelchair space which was occupied, but this does highlight how spacious it is for reference. The ICE Ts are also one of the few members of the ICE family to include bike storage, which as opposed to the newer ICE models is included in the vestibule in the middle carriage. Note this is only included on the 7-car Class 411s and on the Berlin to Vienna route is bookable for €22.23 and is dependent on distance. The second carriage towards the front of the train contains a small first class section, which is in a 2x1 configuration. There also appears to be a phone booth of some sort just here, though does anyone know whether it's still in use? Let me know below if so. The leading driving vehicle is a full first class carriage and also contains a rather unique style of compartment seating which isn't present on the other ICEs. Being similar to the ICE-3s, the trains also feature see-through glass for the driver's cabin at the front, but unfortunately it seems that this is frosted at both the front and rear cabs, as can be done by the will of the driver. Here it is unfrosted on the similar ICE-3 for reference. Now, I mentioned the accessible toilet earlier, but throughout the rest of the train are standard toilets such as this one here. In all honesty, I've never had an issue with cleanliness on Deutsche Bahn toilets, and this one is definitely no exception, give or take the odd piece of toilet paper on the floor. Coat hooks are also present at the back of the door too. Our last stop in Germany is Passau, located right next to the Austrian border, and is also known as the Drei-Flüsse-Stadt, or City of Three Rivers, the main river Danube being joined by the rivers Inn and Ilz from the south and north respectively. The railway from the city follows the river Inn into Austria as we cross the border, which we can witness in the remaining hour or so of daylight remaining as dusk draws near. It's around here where we finally cross the border into Austria. Auf Wiedersehen Deutschland, willkommen in Österreich. Now well within Austria, the snow starts to make a reappearance as we continue to work our way towards Vienna. Our first stop in the country is the city of Linz, the third largest in Austria, located around halfway between Vienna and Salzburg. After Linz, we enter the high-speed section of the Westbahn or Western Railway, which after a long period of conventional line running allows our ICE-T to once again stretch its wheels and reach its 230 km/h maximum speed, just shy of the 250 km/h speed limit of the line. A relatively smooth ride through Austria later sees us arrive at Wien Hbf within the city suburbs, meaning our journey is now coming to an end. The train may not be the fastest way to travel between the German and Austrian capitals, but it certainly is a great way to see the entire route from the ground, crossing Germany from north to south and Austria east to west. The ICE-Ts are also brilliant and comfortable, with the minor refresh giving them a more pleasant onboard atmosphere. For this trip, I booked a few weeks in advance and paid €68.90 for the ticket and an extra €5.90 to reserve my seat, which for a journey of almost 8 hours, well, advertised, isn't too bad. At the time of booking, first class would have cost more than double at around €138, though fares are dynamic and based on demand, with some first class fares being as low as €67.90 when booked a few weeks in advance. Though that being said, standard class on these trains is perfectly fine for a journey of this length, as you saw earlier. Well, in classic Deutsche Bahn fashion, we actually made up most of the delay before having to wait outside Wien Hbf for a further 15 minutes for an available platform. We eventually reached journey's end 26 minutes late at 13 past 6. Now you've heard from me, I want to hear from you. Have you travelled on the ICE-T before? What do you think of their upcoming replacement and the minor refresh some trains have received so far? Let me know in the comments. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and don't forget to like and share it if you did to aid the channel's growth, as well as subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications for more content such as this weekly. It's been quite a long day for me to say the least, so I'm off to get some dinner and check into the hotel. Thanks so much for coming with me on this trip, and I look forward to bringing you with me on my next one.
Thank you.